Washington Times piece by Craig
Uh,
yesterday?
Earlier, yeah.
Okay. It's a great commentary on Kamala's upward failure. His name is Craig DeLuce. He's been with us many times from Project 21 and the National Center for Public Policy Research. Craig, thanks for being with us. How you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal, sir. It's always a pleasure.
Is it me that the Democrats just pander to whoever they're talking to? You know, I ain't no ways tired. I come too far, all that. Joe Biden, I'll put y'all back in chains. And now she does it like she's got some kind of Southern accent speaking in Atlanta yesterday.
Well, she is an expert at it, at pretending to be something that she's not. And when she came out with that quote and she said, imagining what can be, unburdened from what has been. That's what she's talking about. In other words, my past, my record has nothing to do with anything going forward, or at least don't bother to look at my past.
So when somebody like that runs for president, and you're known for, you know, you're known for the one line being unburdened by what has been. Don't people understand that that's all she's got in her head? Oh, sorry, there's a little space there for Venn diagrams that you just learned about. But what would make somebody vote for that just because she's not Donald Trump?
Well, see, they're still operating in a belief that I can go one place and say one thing and be one person, and then I can go another place and be someone completely different. And nobody's filming it, nobody's recording it, nobody will hold me accountable. The internet doesn't exist yet because Al Gore hasn't invented it, and that's their attitude, and they don't understand that. No, you're going to be held accountable for this stuff, and the problem is that they're not going to be held accountable by the mainstream media because the mainstream media is going to act. I mean, they're part of the act.
Right. And I ask, Project 21 people all the time, and they always give me the exact same answer. When you meet liberals, do they assume that you're liberal just because you're black? And they say every single time. So what's in the piece in the Washington Times says, does not supporting Kamala Harris mean that Project 21, remember a black guy, Craig DeLuce, is doing a disservice to black America? It's just the opposite. Am I right?
Well, you're 100% correct. If we want to have a country that is going to be based on merit, meaning if we want to believe that Kamala Harris is the most qualified person to be president, then she needs to be able to stand up to the same scrutiny as anyone else. Her record needs to be able to stand up to that same level of scrutiny. And I start the piece by talking about a guy who is a good friend of mine. I know this guy cares about me. I know he knows where I stand. But he reached out to me and was like, "Dude, you can't criticize Kamala Harris because, man, this is if you side with her over Donald Trump, well, the black community is going to disown you." And I'm like, well, first of all, anybody who's going to disown me for speaking the truth, I don't really need them in my life anyway. So let's start with that. But number two, the only way in which we get better is if we are honest with ourselves about who we are, about our record, and we don't just look for the best. We're not just looking for the best black female to be president. We're looking for the best person to be president. And if she happens to be a black female, that's great. But the only way you ever become a black female president is by being the best candidate for president.
Such a great relationship with Project 21. Madeline Brame just tore it up at the Republican National Convention. We've had her on many times. Donna Jackson, one of my favorites. And Melanie Collette. I think she is such a great example of how stupid the race thing is, right? Because we were talking in February, and it was Black History Month, and towards the end of the interview, she goes, "Well, you forgot to say that it was Black History Month. That's the only reason you had me on, right? Because I'm black." I said, "Yeah, just because you're black." She goes, "I knew it," and she was so much fun about it. But you see the point she made right there.
Well, exactly. And I will tell you that there are many people who identify as black, and they're just black, right? For me, it's part of who I am. It informs who I am, but it's not. It doesn't dictate who I am, right? I am a father. I am a grandfather. I am a husband. I am a believer in Jesus Christ. I am a business owner. All of those things inform who I am. And the color of my skin or how much melanin is in my skin is only one thing, is only one part of it.
And I think that I say it all the time. People are getting sick of me hearing me say it. The black lifestyle and the black, uh, just the black way of life is really, truly a very conservative way of life.
Oh, most definitely. I will tell you, it is. I always find it a challenge, in particular when I'm speaking to those in church, and we're talking about, the Bible says, honor the Lord in all thy ways. Well, guess what? That includes how you govern and how you vote. And how do you vote for people who advocate for policies that are 100% contrary to what the book and the faith that you claim to believe in actually teach?
So here we are, 99 days away from an election with one of the candidates that never got one vote or one delegate. And it's the Democrats accusing Donald Trump of being a threat to democracy when they are proving right in front of our eyes that they're the threat to democracy. Am I right?
Oh, that is 100% correct. No one has voted for Kamala Harris. I will say the only successful thing that Kamala has done has been, as I said in my piece, she's been successful in failing up. Every place she's been where she's supposed to govern and do a job, she has failed at that job. Whether it was district attorney in San Francisco, where she had the worst conviction rate of any big city DA in the state, where she covered up drugs being stolen out of a crime lab, whether it was as the attorney general in the state of California, where she ended a 22-year streak of violent crime going down. She put an end to that with her quote unquote smart on crime policies, which basically meant we're going to take felonies, we're going to turn them into misdemeanors, we're going to take felons, and we're going to let them out on the street to do whatever the heck they want. And her reward for that, she became U.S. Senator from California, right? Where in fact, she had the second worst attendance rating when it came to voting, and was voted the most liberal senator in of all of them. I mean, we're talking, she was more liberal than a Democratic socialist known as Bernie Sanders. And then she became vice president. And then as vice president, well, all I have to say is, the borders are, which, by the way, if you've seen her new commercial, I'm like, she literally has the nerve to say that she has been tougher on the border than Donald Trump.
Yep. Now, listen, I think what you said there, if you could just say it again exactly the way you said it about the 22 years of declining crime, because that's something that Donald Trump has to say in a debate immediately. So what was the stat again?
22 consecutive years of crime going down in the state of California. And under her tenure, you actually saw violent crime go up for the first time in 22 years. And it was largely, once again, because of her, like I said, and she go back and look in the early 2010s, she was talking about being, quote unquote, smart on crime, which, like I said, meant decriminalizing crime, letting criminals out on the streets, and shutting down prisons.
Well, you mentioned the borders are Kamala Harris failing up. And I think that's a great way to explain it there, Doug.
Right.
I'm Craig. I'm sorry. I was looking at some listener, Doug. But my point in here is that do you think that she's going to be able to hide from the fact that she is a mess on the border? Because she keeps saying that now, like Vic just said, she's actually putting ads out saying, oh, no, I'm tougher on the border than Trump was. Do you think she can actually hide from what she's done to the border?
I don't think that she can hide, because everybody is seeing it. Everybody in blue cities are seeing it. All of these sanctuary cities where the border governors and by the way, the Biden administration was shipping these illegal immigrants, they're seeing what's going on, and they're realizing that she is a failure. The only chance she has is blaming Joe Biden. That's literally the only chance she has to be able to run from it or hide from it. Because right now she's trying to act like she was, Donald Trump. Although she was partially responsible for having kids in cages. So I guess you can take some credit for that.
Deleuze from Project 21 and the National Center for Public Policy Research. Go read his piece in the Washington Times. Once you read that, you'll understand why Kamala Harris is the worst choice possible to be president of the United States. Craig, thanks for your time today. Let's talk again soon, okay?
Most definitely, sir.
All right. I like Craig.